Welcome back, everybody, to the deep dive. This time, we're tackling educational videos. How do we make them better?
Better for learning, you mean?
Exactly. More effective, more engaging, stuff that actually works.
Sounds like a plan. Where are we diving in for this deep dive?
Well, we found this amazing YouTube video. It's called Sharing Tips for Video-Based Content Design and Development.
Catchy.
I know, right? But seriously, it's led by Hasnain Zafar Balak.
Okay.
And he's been an e-learning expert for over 20 years. Like, this guy knows his stuff.
Wow, over 20 years.
And get this, the original webinar, it had people joining live from Malaysia, Indonesia, even the Philippines.
A truly global audience. It speaks to the reach of online learning, doesn't it?
It really does. And it makes you realize how important it is to get video creation right, especially when we're trying to teach people.
Absolutely. The stakes are high when it comes to educational content. We want to make sure it's engaging, informative, and accessible to everyone.
Right. So Mr. Balak, he had this really clear way of breaking down the video creation process. He talked about three key phases: pre-production, production, and post-production.
Classic three-step process.
I think sometimes we get so caught up in the excitement of an idea that we skip over the planning stages.
Oh, absolutely. Pre-production is where it all starts.
This is so true. It's like that moment when you get a killer idea for a video. That's where pre-production begins.
You've got to harness that initial spark and turn it into a solid plan.
It's like laying the groundwork before you even think about picking up a camera.
Exactly. And Mr. Block, he was really big on something called a needs analysis.
Needs analysis.
Yeah, it's where you define the purpose of the video. Like, who is it for? What do you want them to learn? What does success even look like? Getting crystal clear on all of that.
It's about being strategic. You're not just creating a video for the sake of it. There's a purpose behind it.
100%. And once you've nailed down those needs, then you can move on to the creative stuff. Like thinking about the overall look and feel of the video. What's the tone going to be? Formal? Informal? What kind of visuals will actually resonate with your audience?
It's like setting the stage for a performance.
You got it. And all those ideas, you bring them together in an initial proposal. It's like a blueprint outlining the vision for your video. It includes practical stuff like how long will the video be? What interactive elements could you include? Even a potential budget. Getting real.
So you're not just winging it. You've got a roadmap to guide you through the whole process.
Precisely. And this careful planning and pre-production, that's what paves the way for a smooth and successful production phase.
Okay, so let's talk about production. This is where the cameras start rolling, right? Lights, camera, action.
That's the one. But, even seemingly small decisions in this phase can have a big impact on how effective your video is.
Like,
We'll take the location, for example. Mr. Balak gave this example about filming a chemistry experiment. He said it would be so much more engaging to actually see it happening in a real lab.
with all the beakers and tubes and stuff.
Exactly. The sights and sounds of a real scientific setting. It adds authenticity and context.
It creates an immersive experience, you're right. But what about the equipment? Do you need to have all the fancy cameras and stuff to make a good video?
That's a good question. Mr. Balak actually addressed this in the webinar. He said that even some Hollywood movies are now being shot on smartphones.
Wait, really?
Seriously.
Yeah.
The technology we have in our pockets is pretty amazing these days.
So you don't necessarily need to break the bank to get started.
Nope, not at all. What matters most is knowing your equipment. Understand what your camera can do, whether it's a smartphone or a dedicated video camera.
But good lighting is still essential, right? Even with a great camera, you can end up with a video that's too dark or full of shadows.
You're absolutely right. Mr. Balak, he was very clear about this. Lighting can make or break a video. He even gave some practical tips like avoid having windows in the background.
Oh yeah, that makes sense. I've been on video calls where someone's face is completely washed out by the light behind them.
It happens all the time.
Yeah.
And sometimes even with natural light, you might need to add some extra lighting to make sure your subject is well lit. It's all about presenting your content in a way that's visually appealing and easy to follow.
Makes sense. So you've got your footage, you've nailed the lighting. Now what? It's time for post-production. This is where you take all that raw material and turn it into the finished product.
Think of it as the editing room, where all the magic happens. It's about assembling the pieces, smoothing out the rough edges, and adding those final touches.
It's like taking a rough draft of an essay and turning it into a polished masterpiece.
That's a great analogy. And just like a good essay, a good video needs a strong narrative. It has to flow smoothly and keep the viewer engaged.
Mr. Bullock also talked about the importance of sound editing in post-production. He actually compared it to analyzing an EKG. He said a good audio track needs to have peaks and valleys to maintain the audience's engagement.
It's about creating an audio experience that complements the visuals and helps guide the viewer's attention. Because a flat, monotone audio track, it can make even the most beautiful video feel boring.
It's about finding that balance between the visual and the auditory, creating a truly captivating experience.
Exactly. And once you've got your video looking and sounding amazing, the final step in post-production is getting ready to share. You got to make sure it's in the right format for wherever you're posting it. YouTube, Vimeo, your website.
So many options these days.
You know, with all this talk about pre-production, production, and post-production, there's one more crucial element that Mr. Beloff really emphasized, and that's storyboarding.
Storyboarding.
Yes. He described it as the critical link between your creative vision and the actual execution of your video. Like, how do you get from that initial spark to a final product?
Ah, I see. So it's not just for, like, the camera person.
Not at all. Storyboarding means creating a visual representation of your video, shot by shot.
So every single scene is planned out.
Pretty much. It helps everyone get on the same page. Subject matter experts, videographers, editors, everyone involved.
So it's kind of like a shared language that the whole team can understand.
You got it. And in the webinar, Mr. Block actually showed some real examples of storyboards. They were insanely detailed.
Like what kind of detail?
I mean, everything. Camera angles, how long each shot would be, what text would appear on the screen, even the voiceover script, every single little thing.
Wow, so you're really thinking through every detail before you even start filming.
Exactly. Storyboarding helps you spot potential problems ahead of time, and it makes the actual filming process so much smoother. Plus, it helps ensure that the final video matches your original vision.
You know, it makes me think, if I were making a video, what would my storyboard look like? What story would I want to tell? And how would I use the visuals to bring it to life?
That's a great question to consider. Storyboarding can be an incredibly powerful tool, especially for educators. You can take control of your message and present it in a way that's both creative and effective.
It sounds like storyboarding is a key to unlocking a whole new level of creativity and clarity in how we create videos.
It really is. It's about taking those abstract ideas and transforming them into a plan that everyone can get behind.
Okay, so we've covered the 3 phases of video creation and the importance of storyboarding. But what about the tools, the actual tech stuff we need to bring our video visions to life?
Now that's where things get really exciting. And back we are, ready to talk tools and techniques for awesome educational videos.
You know it. And speaking of tools, I remember that question Mr. Block threw out to the webinar audience. He asked, do you believe that Hollywood movies are being recorded using smartphones?
I remember that. It definitely caught my attention.
And the answer is yes.
Crazy, right?
I know. He emphasized that smartphones with really good cameras can actually create movie-quality footage. I know, right? The power we have in our pockets these days.
It's mind-blowing. Technology is always changing, and for educators, having access to these high-quality video tools, game changer. It's like anyone with a smartphone can create really great content now.
It really levels the playing field. But even with a great camera, there's still a learning curve, right? It's not just point and shoot.
Oh, definitely not. You've got to know your equipment, as Mr. Bullock put it.
Yeah.
Understand what your camera can and can't do.
Mm.
He even talked about how choosing the right camera depends on what you're filming. Like if you're recording something like a dental implant procedure, you wouldn't want to use a big, bulky camera.
Makes sense. It'd get in the way.
Exactly. He suggested using a GoPro or a small camcorder for situations like that.
It's all about choosing the right tool for the job.
Right. And speaking of tools, can we talk about lighting?
Oh, yes. Good lighting is essential.
It makes such a difference. Mr. Bullock showed some photos of the IMU studio, and it was filled with lights.
I bet. It really makes you realize how much thought goes into setting up the right lighting for a video.
Think about it. Good lighting illuminates your subject, minimizes shadows, creates a really nice atmosphere, makes everything clear, and helps people focus on what's important.
It's not just about having enough light, it's about how you use that light.
You got it. He recommended using multiple light sources at different angles to avoid those harsh shadows. Creates a more professional look.
That makes sense. What about audio? Any tips on that?
Oh, he stressed that good audio is just as important as good lighting. And he had this simple solution, a clip-on mic.
Those little things that clip onto your shirt.
Exactly. He said you can find them online for super cheap, and they can seriously improve the sound quality of your videos.
That's a great tip. I've definitely struggled with bad audio in the past, especially when there's background noise or I'm too far from the mic.
A clip-on mic can really help with that and make sure your voice is clear and easy to understand.
And remember how Mr. Balak compared a video's audio track to an EKG? He said it should have peaks and valleys to keep the audience engaged.
It's such a brilliant analogy. Just like a flat EKG would be worrying, a flat monotone audio track makes a video feel lifeless and boring. But a dynamic audio track with different tones and paces, it adds energy, makes the content so much more engaging.
So you've shot your footage, you've got great lighting and audio, and now it's post-production time.
Time to edit.
And I love this line from Mr. Balak about this stage. You cannot ask the president or chancellor, "Oh, I lost your recording." That would be the last day of a videographer.
Oh, I can only imagine. Talk about pressure.
Right. He was really emphasizing how important it is to back up your footage.
Absolutely. You don't want to lose all that hard work. He recommended making multiple backups, one on an external hard drive and another on a cloud service.
So even if something happens to one, you've got a spare. Smart.
It gives you peace of mind. You know your footage is safe and secure so you can focus on editing.
And that's where you get to piece everything together, right? Like a puzzle. Especially when you have footage from different locations plus voiceovers and all those other elements.
It's where you build the narrative, craft a story. You choose the best takes, put them in the right order, and add transitions to make everything flow.
It sounds like an art form.
It really is. And of course, sound editing is a huge part of this too.
Right. It's not just about the video, it's about creating that immersive audio experience that goes along with it.
For sure. Getting rid of any unwanted noise, adjusting the volume levels, adding music or sound effects, making sure the whole audio experience is clear, engaging, and distraction-free.
Mr. Balak also talked about how important it is to publish your video in the right format.
Ah, yes. File types and all that.
You wouldn't want to upload a huge video file to a platform that's meant for mobile phones, right? It would take forever to load.
Definitely not. Every platform has its own requirements. YouTube, Vimeo, Facebook, Instagram, they all have different specs for file size and resolution. Getting it wrong can mean bad video quality, slow loading times, and a frustrated audience.
No one wants that.
Nope. And remember that photography tip he shared? The rule of thirds.
Oh, yeah. To create those visually appealing images.
It's a simple but powerful concept.
Remind me how it works again.
Sure. Imagine dividing your screen into 9 equal sections with 2 horizontal lines and 2 vertical lines. The points where those lines intersect are called power points. That's where people's eyes are naturally drawn to.
So if you put your subject or important elements at those points.
Bingo, you create a more balanced and engaging composition. It's about guiding the viewer's eye.
And I remember he had some really interesting tips about filming outdoors.
Oh yeah, like the best time to shoot.
An hour after sunrise or an hour before sunset. The lighting is softer then.
It's amazing how the time of day can impact your footage.
And if you have to shoot on a super bright day.
He suggested wearing lighter colors and playing around with the camera's brightness settings.
But ideally.
Cloudy days are the best. The light is more diffused and even.
I would have thought sunny days were better. Learn something new every day.
He also had some great tips about backgrounds. For indoor filming, he said to avoid facing windows.
Even with curtains?
Even with curtains. That backlight can make you look washed out. And if you do have windows in the background, he said to make sure you've got 3 layers of curtains to block out as much light as possible.
3 layers, wow. It's all about getting rid of distractions and making sure the focus stays on you and what you're saying.
Exactly. And for those who want to use a green screen but don't want to spend a ton of money on a fancy one, he had some awesome DIY solutions.
Like what?
He actually made his own green screen using cardboard sheets. It was incredible.
That's so resourceful.
It really shows you that you don't need to buy expensive equipment to get great results. Just be creative and make the most of what you've got.
I love that. And on the topic of backgrounds, he reminded everyone that sometimes you don't even need a green screen at all.
That's true. Many platforms, like Zoom, have built-in features now.
That let you blur or replace your background.
Super handy.
He also talked about choosing the right orientation for your video. Vertical or landscape.
Yes. A classic dilemma.
He said that while vertical is more popular for social media, like TikTok and Instagram stories, landscape is still preferred for educational content.
It just looks more professional.
Plus, it's better for watching on a bigger screen.
Exactly. Always think about how your viewers will be watching your video.
Great advice.
Mr. Balak revisited video editing tools too.
Oh, yeah. He mentioned some of the free and easy-to-use ones.
Like Shortcut. He said it's so user-friendly that even his 15-year-old daughter uses it to make YouTube videos.
That's a testament to how easy it is to use. A great option for beginners.
Absolutely. And for people who are already comfortable with PowerPoint, he had a cool suggestion.
What's that?
Using PowerPoint's animation features to create videos.
Oh, wow. I never thought of that.
A lot of people already have PowerPoint,
Hmm.
and it can be really powerful for video creation, and then for stock footage and video templates. He recommended Envato Elements.
It's that subscription service with a massive library of creative assets.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Perfect for educators who don't have the time or resources to create every single visual from scratch.
It's amazing how generous he is with sharing all these tips and resources.
I know. And of course, he plugged his own YouTube channel too.
Which makes sense.
Right. He shares recordings of his workshops there and tons of other valuable stuff. He's so passionate about helping people.
It's inspiring to see that. And one thing that Mr. Balak kept coming back to throughout the webinar was this. Technology is just a tool.
Ah, such an important message.
It's not the destination itself. He urged educators to focus on their teaching methods and then use technology to enhance those approaches.
Yes. Put learning first. Technology should serve our teaching goals, not the other way around.
Couldn't have said it better myself. And at the very end, he mentioned the annual Learning Resources Festival hosted by IMU.
I heard about that. It's an international event.
It brings together educators and learning professionals from all over the world to share ideas and learn from each other. It sounds incredible.
It does. It's great to see institutions like IMU embracing innovation and creating these opportunities for educators to connect and grow together.
I don't know about you, but I'm feeling super inspired to go out and create some awesome educational videos.
Me too. We covered so much ground today.
We did. We talked about all 3 phases of video production, the magic of storyboarding, the importance of lighting and audio, and even got a glimpse into the future of learning with 360-degree video and interactive elements.
It was a whirlwind tour of video creation for education.
But wait, there's one more mind-blowing tech we need to explore.
Oh, and what's that?
360-degree video. It's taking immersive learning to a whole new level. Stay tuned as we dive into the exciting world of 360. And we're back, ready to explore the world of 360-degree video.
I'm excited to dive in. It feels like the next frontier in educational video.
Totally. It's like, imagine transporting your students to a different place or time.
Oh, the possibilities. To
Yeah.
let them explore and interact with their surroundings in a way that regular video just can't do.
Exactly. Mr. Balak actually called it giving learners the freedom to explore. He showed a really cool example in the webinar. It was a 360-degree video of a lab experiment.
Oh, I love when they show practical examples.
Me too. And in this one, students had to gather materials from different parts of the virtual room. It was like they were really in the lab.
That's amazing. Talk about immersive. It's a powerful way to get students engaged and make them active participants in the learning process. Instead of passively watching, they're actively exploring, making choices.
Discovering things for themselves. It's not just about creating a cool visual experience, though, right?
You got it. It's about using the tech to actually enhance learning, that 360 environment. It should be packed with details and information that are relevant to what you're trying to teach.
Makes sense. And you know what else is great? Those affordable 360-degree cameras Mr. Balak talked about.
Oh, yeah. He said you can find some for under $500.
I know. And the software used to create these interactive videos, also really budget-friendly. He mentioned some free tools like H5P.
I've heard of H5P.
It lets you add all sorts of cool interactive elements to your videos. Clickable objects, quizzes, even branching scenarios where the story changes based on what the viewer chooses.
Wow. That takes interactive learning to a whole new level. It's amazing how you can cater to different learning styles and create these personalized paths based on what each student needs.
In Camtasia, remember that tool we talked about before? It also has features for creating interactive videos.
No way.
Seriously, some of these tools are so versatile.
It's incredible how technology is always evolving to meet the needs of educators. The possibilities are endless.
Towards the end of the webinar, Mr. Balak did this really fun thing. He had the audience use a word cloud tool to summarize the key takeaway.
Oh, I love word clouds.
They're so cool. It was amazing to see all those words popping up on the screen, a visual representation of the main ideas.
Word clouds are such a great way to engage an audience. Plus, they help people remember the important stuff.
I thought it was interesting to see which words came up the most. Tools, tech, editing, video, those were definitely up there. But also words like Impactful, creativity, engagement.
It really highlights the power of video to transform learning.
Absolutely. Educational video creation isn't just about the tech stuff. It's about being creative, making learning active and engaging, and ultimately having a positive impact. Well, that brings us to the end of our deep dive into the world of educational video. We've covered a lot, from the basic phases of video production to the magic of storyboarding, the importance of lighting and audio, and even the exciting future of 360-degree video.
We really did cover it all.
Yeah.
Mr. Bullock is a wealth of knowledge.
He really is. We've learned so much. But before we go, we have one final thought for you. In a world that's already overflowing with video content, how will YU use these insights to create educational videos that truly stand out? Videos that make a real lasting impact. We'd love to hear your thoughts, share them in the comments, and let's keep this conversation going. Until next time, happy creating.